For example, if you discuss with a medical doctor, he would not be able to tell you what is a libido, which is the basis of many psychological findings. If you ask the psychologist, he may not be able to tell you what are the symptoms of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Then Yoga Shastris are regarded as something out of place. Perhaps we have never realized that all this knowledge springs from one source, that is awareness. One source is giving all these flowers, and still we are separated and we are fighting with each other, not knowing that this is one source that has blossomed into so many flowers. This disintegration leads us to confusion, and Kali Yuga is, this modern age is known for its confusion. The religion, the dharma and the adharma, both are confused. Right and wrong is a confused subject. Divine and satanic are confused. Keeping all these in view, we have to be very open-minded like a scientist and find out how this divine is working within us. Some biologists who have been working on the subject of life have brought about a very good thesis about the life that was created in such a short time. According to those biologists, the time taken for a human life to evolve from the time when the earth seceded from the sun is too short to even create a life. They have given an explanation that if you apply the law of chance, this is an impossibility. Let us see what is the law of chance. The law of chance can be understood by a simple analogy. Supposing there are 50 red marbles and 50 black marbles, and they are put in a jar and allowed to shake through some mechanical means, then you find they all get mixed up. This is the chaos. And when you try to bring them back to their original position, you find that it takes certain number of shaking, which is the minimum required. Please try to understand this analogy. It's a very simple analogy. There is a jar with 50 white or black and red 50 pebbles, or you can call it small, round. These children play with that booty, that sort of a thing. And you shake it. When you start shaking it, they become all mixed up. So from the chaos to the organized life, which is life itself. Amoeba is an organized life compared to matter. Even the molecules are organized, even the atoms are organized, but they do not have the will to organize themselves or will to protect themselves. So to get to this organism, which is life itself, should have normally taken much more years than these 200 billion years, which is a very short time. According to them, the time taken is, say, n raised to power x, y, z. It's a mathematical thing, I don't want to bore you with that. Now, the time that has taken is only n, leave alone the raised to power to anything. In that short time, to evolve such a complex structure like a human being by chance is an impossible, is absolutely accepted. But when you see those pebbles, you can construct them in a proper way if there is a juggler. If somebody who knows how to push the red ones to the red side and the black ones to the black side, you can manage that. This indicates that there is a juggler, totally conscious and aware, with cosmic understanding and power, who is managing the show in such a short time. For the scientist, it is only to point out that there is some juggler. They cannot explain any further. Now let us see what the psychologists have to say on this subject. The psychologists believe and have accepted in toto the fact that there is a universal being within ourselves, without they have not yet accepted, but within ourselves, who binds us together, because when we are asleep and when we submerge ourselves into our subconscious mind, we find certain symbols appearing in our dreams. There is a theory forwarded by many psychologists and supported by them that these symbols appear universally the same in every case. For example, if this universal unconscious wants to suggest that you are going to be murdered or there is a danger to you through some violence or instrument of violence, you see a triangular elongated symbol. Whether you are an Indian, whether you are an American, whether you are a Japanese or a Russian makes no difference to the symbol. That means there is a being which is universally working these symbols. There is another thing which many psychologists support, that the unconscious is all the time trying to keep us on the right track. It gives us a balance. For example, I'll quote Jung, who has given two examples of the balance that the unconscious has suggested to his patients. One gentleman came to see him and told him that I get dreams, and in my dreams invariably I see that I am placed before my son, who is a king. Sometimes I find that I have lost my way, sometimes I can't catch a train, sometimes I do all kinds of frantic things in my dreams, and ultimately I find I am landed before my son, who is sitting on a throne like a king. So, Mr. Jung asked him, what are your relations with your son? This gentleman said, you see, he is a son from my first wife, and my second wife is not very happy with him. So I keep him out, but still I should say I have done no justice to him as a father. Mr. Jung said, the unconscious is teaching you that you respect him because he is a king. One day, such a man will repent in his heart for treating his own son like that, who depends on his father for all the love and protection. Another case is that of a girl who came to him and told him that I dream that my mother is a witch, and it is so common that now I am fed up of that dream, and I don't want to accept such a horrible thing about my mother. So he asked her, how are you placed with your mother? Are you happy with her? She said, I being the only child, born after a long time, I am very much pampered by her. And she allows me to do whatever I like. She doesn't say anything to me. She says, I just want you to be happy and do whatever you please. I have nothing to say about it. Sometimes I am even confused. She gives me no guidance, and she takes no responsibility of guiding me. Neither she discusses any one of her experiences to me. In the result, I have become a spoiled person. I have become a very fussy person, and I have become intolerably hot-tempered. So the deduction was that the unconscious is giving you the suggestion that, my child, be careful, you will become a witch. If you listen to this witch, now by saying there is a universal being, there is a universal consciousness, awareness that is working in us, you are just giving a name to something. It doesn't explain. It's like saying that there is a juggler who is doing the job, or like saying that there is a universal being who is looking after you and guiding you and giving you the balance. They call it as the intuition drive and all the names. Now let us see the medical sciences, what they have to say. When you go to a medical man and ask him a simple question, that please let me know What is making my heart pulsate? What is controlling my digestion? What is looking after my respiration? He will just say there is a system known as autonomous nervous system which is responsible for this regulation. This is another name given to the same universal divine. This is not to decry them at all, nor to in any way belittle their efforts of finding. On the contrary, whatever they have found out, they have reached a place where now they have to see that there is something that is to be still bridged, that is still to be understood. There are two autonomous nervous systems in our body. One is a parasympathetic and another is a sympathetic nervous system. Now the sympathetic nervous system is again divided into right and left side, and the parasympathetic nervous system is in the center. The person who is a right-hander has his left side sympathetic working, while the left-hander has his left side sympathetic working. Now one remains absolutely quiet. Now both these sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems are responsible, one for activity, another for inactivity. One constricts, another relaxes. One puts you to tension, another one makes you absolutely restful. Sympathetic nervous system has placed a very great difficult problem for the doctors now. With the overactivity of the sympathetic nervous system, you get the disease known as cancer. When there is any irritation in the body, and when some sort of a protection is needed, that part starts getting more active and the cells start multiplying. The sympathetic nervous system works to protect that part, but ultimately it results in the malignancy, that is the more activity of the cells in that part. This is a simple thing that is known as cancer. The advent of cancer in the Kali Yuga is now a challenge to all the scientists of the world, for nobody can escape it if they do not now realize that it is not the activity of man that is going to give him salvation, but the inactivity. But for parasympathetic, they would immediately say that it is not humanly possible to control the parasympathetic. For example, you can, by working harder or running more, you can make your heart pulsate more, but you cannot relax your heart. That's not in your hands. They say there is some other force that is working which looks after the relaxation side of the heart. The Yoga Shastras, which has for so many years have been describing the Kundalini, is nothing but the simple parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system is the gross expression of that system which is in the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, we call it the Kundalini, and the chakras, the centers that guide the center, the plexuses outside, are known as the chakras. For example, your hand has got a center in the head. In the same way, these plexuses which are in our being, which are namely, down below you can start the pelvic plexus, then you have got the aortic plexus, then you have got the solar plexus, then you have got the cardiac plexus, and then you have got I've forgotten the English name for that, but what we call the Swadhisthana chakra here, and then we have got here the Agya Chakra we call it. But this one, though we call it as Agya Chakra in the Yoga Shastra, in the medical sciences there is no name as Agya Chakra. But they accept that there can be a third eye. Now this is something very hypothetical as far as the medical sciences are concerned. So the Agya Chakra, which is actually in the center of the optic chiasma, in the center of the brain, where both the optic nerves cross, is, according to the Yoga Shastra, is the Agya Chakra. It is placed there. And the Sahasrara, when you open out the brain, you will find that there are petal-like designs on the brain. If you vertically cut it, you will find that there are petals in petals, and these designs are, according to medical sciences, are 982, while according to the Yoga Shastra, they are 1000.